What is up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Griff, and welcome to the Angry Astronaut. Today, I'm going to do something a little bit different. It's going to be completely unscripted. It's just going to be off the top of my head, right off the cuff. And today, I really want to talk about the Star Citizen CCU and buyback system. Now, on May 16th, they announced that there was going to be a change in the way that they handled $0 CCUs. They specifically said that they were going to try and reduce or remove $0 CCUs from concepts. Supposedly, their reasoning behind this entire change of the system, there were 1.05 million $0 CCUs across all accounts. And in total, there were about 1.1 million CCUs across 1.8 million backers. Now, think a moment for yourself and literally just take a second to realize that works out to be less than 1 CCU for every single backer out there. Now, granted, they did also say that the people that were stockpiling these $0 CCUs were a small majority, and in some cases there were people that had thousands of them. But at the same token, does that really matter when you're trying to say that it's a burden? If your system cannot handle 1 CCU for every single account, that's a problem. So they identified this as an exploit, even though the reason behind them giving us CCUs in the first place was so that we would be able to freely go and change our ship without having to go through customer service and without having to sacrifice the LTI or any other advantage that we had on that ship or that package that we had already bought. Now, the next reason that they gave us was ship rarity, and they used that as an excuse. I can't believe they actually did this. And they actually said that the reason why they were saying ship rarity was a big deal was because they couldn't get a concrete number on how many of each ship there would be. Now, this is ridiculous, and I'll come back to this in a moment, but let's continue. So finally, they gave 2 solutions. Number 1, remove $0 CCUs from ships that were in concept. And number 2, create a system to expire unused $0 CCUs, and they suggested that if we wanted a new concept ship, we should just melt our current ones in order to get these new concept ships, because we need to, quote-unquote, pick the ship that works for you. Do I have to tell you how absolutely asinine and stupid that is? First of all, ship balance is constantly changing, and second of all, are you serious? You think that people that actually bought the Vanguard expected to get the ship that they really got? You think that ship that they bought at concept is the same ship that they got when it released? No, not even close. So them telling us to pick a ship that works for us when we can't even actually gauge the performance and what exactly that ship is going to be able to do when it actually comes out to the verse, I can't. Like, how dumb do you have to be to put forth that idea? That just simply does not work. And on top of that, when buybacks were first being done, they also had to go through customer service, and when you actually went through customer service, they would gladly use any store credit that you had towards that buyback. Then, when they finally implemented it into the website as a service so that customer service didn't have to waste time working on that, they actually took that opportunity to implement a limit on how often someone could use store credit. They made it so that you had to get an arbitrary token so that you could use store credit only once every 3 months. And on top of that, they went ahead and they basically made it so that you cannot stockpile these. If you don't use it in that 3 months, you don't get another one. It just continues to stay there. So, them telling us to melt these ships when we could possibly get a ship that doesn't turn out to be what we want in the first place is a bad idea. Not on top of that, and this is where we go back to the point where they say that we should just pick the ship that works for us, and that it's not designed so that we can freely flip-flop between ships. If you actually go to the store page and you look at the CCUs as an item themselves, not like open up the ship upgrade system, but actually go to the store, go to extras, and click on a CCU, it specifically says that this needs to be applied before the beta release of the persistent universe. Now, that actually makes sense, because by that time, once the beta of the persistent universe is out, they should probably have a pretty good direction of where they're going to be taking flight and where they want these ships to be at. But them telling us that we need to pick when it is still in alpha is such a bad idea and such a bad excuse, especially when they already have a set time that they want these CCUs to no longer be able to be used. Are you kidding me? It's basically them saying that even though we already have this time when we are going to finalize what ships you want, we want you to finalize your ship when nothing around those ships or flight model is set. Nothing about it is finalized. It's blowing my mind that they are actually able to do this, and that people are not up in arms about this, and that there are people that would willingly defend this. Not to mention, on top of that, they go on and say that because of this, because of them not knowing how many ships of each type there are going to be, and because they cannot tell how rare something is going to be, that they cannot make missions based off of those ships. Now, excuse me, you should be able to make missions revolving around exploration, luxury touring, and all of that without having to know how many of each ship somebody is going to have, especially in alpha, because most of that, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be proof of concept and just making sure that it works, not that it's going to be the final thing. That is something to finalize in beta. How many of each mission type is something that you would probably do in beta when you actually have those concrete numbers at that time period that you already set of when you're going to see how many ships everybody has. Excuse me, I'm getting a little heated here. Anyways, now on to the next thing here. So, the buyback system. We're going to revisit this real quick. They set a precedence. They set the precedence that people would be able to go back and get their ships through customer service. If they did not want us to be able to use credit to buy it back, then they wouldn't have never allowed us to do that, even when it was in customer service, supposedly as a service. And again, why in the world, when we melt something, does the CCU that was used on that ship not go into buyback? Why? If you are going to limit us on how many CCUs that we can have, why are we not allowed to get that CCU out from buyback? Especially if we paid money for that CCU. I get it. When we melt it, we get the credit back. But this actually ties into why all of this is actually happening. Why they did the things that they did. So, surprise, surprise. CIG is a company. They obviously want money. Money is the reason why they did this. If that wasn't completely obvious to you when they implemented this with when they implemented this change with the advent of a concept sale, and they were originally going to charge you $5 for that $0 CCU, let me break this down to you if that didn't break it down enough. So, ship rarity, yet again. Xylo came out to the community and literally said the majority of the reason why they're doing this is to enforce this artificial scarcity that they want to create. He literally said that they want us to not be able to flip back and forth between these quote-unquote rare ships. So what they're trying to do is they are trying to get you to do an impulse buy. Because if it's not available 24/7, if it's not available all the time, guess what's going to be much more lucrative to you? You are probably going to want to save up and spend the extra money to get that rare ship because it's only on sale once every so often. Congratulations, CIG. You are literally turning into the EA that you said that you would not turn into. This is a problem. You are creating an anti-consumer practice to take advantage of the people that are there. That honestly, this system hurts your most active players the most, because they eventually are probably going to get fed up with having to play Arena Commander every so often, or X amount of time every week in order to make sure that the ship that is the current meta ship is in their ability to use. Again, yet another reason, in my opinion, that they implemented the change where you can no longer use wrecked ships in the universe. Because if it's your favorite ship and you use it all the time, and it's a ship that you probably want eventually, guess what's going to happen? You are more incentivized to end up buying that ship because you can no longer use it in the universe, even though you spent the time to rent it. It's blowing my mind how much of these things people are willing to let CIG do and not get mad at. You literally had people defending this. This is not defendable. This is just bad practices. Can we wake up and see that, please?